Item number 11, State Route 20 Meridian Improvements. Ben Moody.
Good evening, Mayor Dukes, member of the council. The item I have before you is a long-standing project and a goal for the city to enhance our corridor through Highway 20 from 99 to the Fifth Street Bridge. And so what I'm bringing before you is a approval of a landscape concept design to kick off these improvements and start work. Particularly in the shaded area here between Stafford and Clark in the median section. With staff, let me get to the with the history on this project, we've received a couple grants through SACOG. We've worked with Caltrans at different levels to try to obtain funding, do a better complete street design guide. And obtained a grant to basically finalize the design for that segment and then move forward with 30% plans for the rest of the corridor. And at the same time, staff is, with council approval, has allocated funds, CIP, streets and road funds for $200,000 to implement that section. So to move forward with that, we've been in contact with the landscape architect, Mountain Design Group, who's here to help walk through the design concept with me. And basically it's kind of a presentation to get council's blessing to move forward with this design concept so that we could finalize the plans and get it constructed in a phased approach to do the median first right away and then move to the parkway strips and then get those plans for the rest of the corridor and obtain funding where we can. So right now I'm going to introduce Mr. Greg Melton, the landscape architect with Mountain Design Group, to kind of walk through the concept.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. And yeah, been working with Ben and Diana on working this out, and wanted to go through it with you to give you a little rundown. The layout here really focuses on the median, and our goal was to, as these elements say, reduce all the water use in the site, focus on keeping maintenance really low, but at the same time create an attractive median that can run the whole length of the 20. This is kind of a starting point for the whole corridor, and we brought in some elements like a meandering river layout, some fall color, and then some grasses and things to really blend with it. So I'm going to go through some of those elements. With the median focus, you can see the existing streetscape right now. You know, the streets all, perfect, thank you, wide open in this space here. And so what we wanted to do is create something that will not block the view, but to really create a corridor that'll be inviting for people to want to come down. So if you looked at the design, the trees aren't spaced at 22 feet on center. They're spread out a little further. Caltrans wants to see those open views. They do have a little larger canopy, so that'll create some more shade on it. But then we have these meandering grasses and hardscapes that meander with them also, which are very low maintenance, very water conscious. Up in the center of the median, this is where we wanted to bring in some of the culture of Yuba City with some flowering trees. And these would be some columnar ones because we don't want anything pushing out into the drive aisle, but something to give us a blossom in the spring, as many of the peach and other trees do in the area. Talking about the hardscape, materials we're using, the river cobble to bring the taste of the river in, as you'd have on 99, but we're putting in more of a meandering approach to it. And then decomposed granite, which is a material that's working great now all over for low water use. It's soaks up the water, allows the roots and trees to grow, still get its water and oxygen, and be very low maintenance. And then just a colored concrete to blend the three together on this meander. The trees that we're selecting is the Chinese pistache for the median. Great fall color, low water use tree, very strong on its branching. with that, we have the columnar cherry in the center. So that brings us our spring blossom and some good structure with the columnar direction. And then on the parkways, we were looking at the ginkgos, but that's I think more of a future project that's rolling along. And then the grasses we're using across here are, again, all low water use plants, drought tolerant plants. The deer grass, which has a nice pink flower that comes out here later at the end of summer through fall. And then the pennisetum that has got this, its plumes coming out all from spring and summer. So we're always going to have a nice grass kind of meandering through the median, and with the colored trees, I think it'll bring a good look to it. Some constraints we ran into, we wanted to talk about, was Caltrans. They definitely wanted to keep the safety and the visibility wide open, thus we planted those trees far apart. Those shrubs you looked at max out around 42 inches high, so we're still going to be able to see over them on most cars, unless you're in a real low car. But that works good. So the visibility was important, and then maintenance became critical, because we don't want our staff in the medians working. It's just not a safe place. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of road control. So no to annuals and things like that, to where we're going to get employees into the medians. And what we wanted to do is really focus on that appeal of a long run, some decorative trees and grasses, and work on water conservation. So obviously a hot topic. We'll be using an underground drip irrigation for a lot of it, and then Caltrans has some of their own specs. But the key is to focus on controller, smart controller, a sensor, which you see here, which measures rain, freeze, and barometer. So it's all going to shut the irrigation down when it's raining, like we had the other day. You're not going to have any water coming on until it tells it to come back on. So combination of good irrigation choices. We'll be adding flow sensors to it. So if a main line breaks, if a car does drive on it and brake on it, the smart controller will shut it off, because we have a sensor in the main line that'll say, there's not supposed to be water running right now. Why is it running? So all these items come together, and I think provide us with a good design, and just wanted to bring that to you and get some input from you guys.
All right, any comments?
To the mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
To the mayor. I like most of the designs, but I had some questions regarding some of the plants, the trees that are there. I did a little bit of research on the columnar ginkgos, and on the flowering cherry. That's one of the good things and bad things about the internet, is you can find a lot of good information and studies from regions and all over the California, and recommendations. While ginkgo, we have them all over the place here on this property, and they're of a larger size. They have a very large and good root mass, and they can spread out really well. The columnar, I have a little concern on that, because they don't have quite the root mass according to the study. They're going to need a little bit more attention on water than the ginkgos that we would have here. But as far as the style of tree being of the column, that's very pleasing to have that. So their drought resistance isn't as good as the normal ginkgo bilobas that's out here. Princeton Century was the one that was recommended for along roads. That's the only one that was recommended anywhere that I could find. Okay. So I just have some concerns, because you're looking around here and you see ginkgo biloba and going, wait a minute, that doesn't match. So that's why I went out and did some research and find out some more information. And then also, when dealing with flowering cherry, absolutely nowhere could I find it recommended to put a cherry of any kind along a roadway, the narrow roadway type that we're going to be having. In fact, the farmers around here will tell you that anything that has cherry, plum, anything like that, even if it's just flowering, they are not drought resistant. They get drought stressed very easily. It doesn't matter which one it is. And I know we have a few of the flowering ones on Stabler, but I also know these last couple of years has stressed them. And so I have concerns about that one even being on the list. Beautiful flowers, I love it. Being gone to DC and seen some of the beautiful stuff at that time, but I have concerns as to whether it's truly drought resistance. In fact, recommendation, it says not drought tolerant everywhere that I could find. So I had some concerns on that. And then, of course, even though they say they're column, you have to, most of the time, make sure that they stay in columns when they're younger. So there is some work on that. And the ginkgo, the other comment they made is that any of the ginkgos, there is a high water need for the first 5, 8, 10 years, depending on how long it takes them to get established and mature. And then they say they're drought tolerant then, but not until then. So there is some unforeseen or unmentioned concerns on that. So I do have concerns about the two of the trees that were on there.
To the mayor.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we can, from my standpoint, the cherries, my goal is to get something that is more accent and related to the project. So, if we look at the whole corridor, we've got these groups of them. One good thing about the water approach we're doing, as far as whether a tree is medium water use or low or very drought tolerant, is that we're putting the water right where it needs to be. A lot of parkway strips and plants that were done 10, 15, 20 years ago, they're irrigated very differently.
Yeah.
So you see things that aren't doing very well right now. It's because they're used to getting either overhead water or other supplemented water that's not, this drip irrigation approach, which is right in the root ball. So very true. They're not drought tolerant, but with the same breath, I feel we're just using the water the way we're proposing it, we're still not going to be using an excess amount on that tree. But I'm definitely open to other suggestions there too. So.
Well, to add to Mr. Cleveland's questions, there's a balancing act that Public Works and staff has been doing with the requirements to have an aesthetically pleasing project that meet native trees, low water use trees, and then also meet the requirements Caltrans has since we're in there right away. And a big thing Caltrans has is that it specifically talks about anything within the 30 foot of the travelway. They don't want a trunk size bigger than 4 inches, unless they're. And so then you start limiting yourself to crepe myrtles, small tree types, and at the same time we want it to look nice. We're putting a project together that's to enhance the area. And so when you get to that low water use, and then the size of the trees, we're trying to handle the efficiency with the irrigation, and also you have a nice tree, the flowers, the aesthetics for the area.
It's just the concerns had to be voiced. I understand you're trying to balance it and everything, but there are concerns there. So.
And I wanted to note that the ginkgos on the parkway strips, they're for the fall colors, and there definitely would be discussions that it's only the male variety that doesn't have the berry.
That was the other comment. Yeah, the male variety only.
To the mayor.
Yes. Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
So I like the design. I mean, really overall, but I'm a little concerned how we're going to get that from Highway 99 to the Fifth Street Bridge down the 20 corridor. If you go back one slide.
Actually, the first slide.
Yep.
There you go.
Street Bridge.
Fifth Street Bridge.
Up on the top, the heading.
So if we want to build a confidence level into this for Caltrans,
we're definitely going to be on the 10th Street Bridge.
Now, I do like just add the two together, and I think we're there. But I do like the concept, especially if it could carry through even to the Bridge Street corridor in the future, where we have some continuity with the designs, and I think that this concept certainly brings that forward. So the one question I have, and especially it comes to the tree concerns, with the heat and aphid control and everything else, all of our trees in this area require a lot of systemic care. And so I'm wondering if this water delivery system, as advanced as it is, can that also deliver that systemic care to the trees?
Sure, John. Vertigators, I don't know if you've heard of them. We've used them in orchards and irrigation all over. And so now they've come up for years now. We've had them in the landscape and they've actually gotten very efficient. So keeping trees healthy is a lot easier than what it's been in the past. So we're able to provide whatever we want right to the root systems now. Obviously any topical leaf approach to something, but I think with what we're doing now, I mean, this whole drought and everything has just focused everybody on creating really healthy plant material and really direct approach to it. So we're getting pretty healthy plant material due to the fact we're putting water where it needs to be and we can fertilize where we need to fertilize. And so a healthy tree has a lot less susceptibility to any of that.
Sure.
So, and like Stan said, if we're working with cherries and we don't want to use them because I've got something else, then we can pick something that, you know, has a safer approach to the long-term sustainability of it. So,
Thank you very much.
To the mayor.
Yes.
A couple of questions. Great concept. But I think at one point in time, and this is ages and ages ago, before that meeting came concrete again, there were trees at that point in time and some nice landscape and stuff. And Caltrans slowly by slowly got rid of it. And so, you know, if we're putting trees back, obviously that area, Highway 20, gets probably about more than 50,000 cars on a daily basis, trucks and stuff. So if you're putting trees out, obviously you're putting them a small amount, but ones you've picked up there, like Councilmember Cleveland said, is a cherry tree looks nice, but it's more in a perimeter outside area. So if you're putting trees, I mean, you got to make sure that the branches aren't growing out. They're not hitting the cars, and they're not hitting the trucks, some of that kind of stuff. And that whole corridor is very, very popular for the crows. So if you're going to put a lot of trees, and if you notice a lot of the businesses have cut their trees down for that same reason, you could have the whole Highway 20, you know, trying to look nice, but that whole Highway 20 is full of crows. So, I mean, just, you know, food for thought when you're looking, trying to make something look nice, and it may not.
sure.
You know.
But to that point, we did on Highway 99, I believe those do have crepe myrtles. Have we had an issue with crows in there in the evening at all?
I haven't seen any.
Yeah.
Not aware of it.
I mean,
So
yeah,
that
so
might be another option is the crepe myrtles too.
yeah, because it brings up nice color.
It does.
And the other question I had is obviously, and I apologize, I don't know your name, but Greg. So you're going to go ahead and your company's going to go ahead and plant these trees and get them up and going, but it's the city of Yuba City that's going to maintain it for public works. Correct?
So Greg's with Melton Design Group. He's just the landscape architect, so we would utilize him and his company to finalize the planning schedule, basically the landscape designs and the irrigation. The city of Yuba City will take that. We'll submit an encroachment permit application with the full design to Caltrans to get approval,
Right.
and then we'll bid that for construction.
Right, but I guess, and once it's all done, who's going to maintain that strip for the landscape stuff?
And so with that, the maintenance responsibilities is very important to the city because Caltrans has requested with us planning in their right-of-way that the city takes on that maintenance responsibility.
Okay, because I know Greg's mentioning we've got these sprinklers and we've got these rain birds that stop when it's raining, and we can put fertilizers and chemicals in and all that kind of stuff. That's great and dandy, but you're going to be gone. And so the question is, who's going to make sure all that stuff's maintained?
Yeah, and this couldn't be much easier of a irrigation maintenance design approach. I mean, the majority of it is in the ground, drip bubbler. There's no sprinklers. There's no pop-ups. There's nothing like that. You won't even see the water.
Okay.
You'll see the ground get wet, and that's kind of the end result, what you see. So, yeah, the city's going to have to take on maintenance. The first years of the trees have more maintenance than they do later. I guess the bottom line is, you know, this aesthetic we're trying to create through the corridor, you know, that's going to have its own budget to manage that.
Correct.
And we're concerned about that. And with the irrigation design, there's different features that they've talked about. Instead of having one drip line, they do a double drip line. And then so if something clogs or goes bad, you're not waiting until the plant is dead until you know what's going on due to the limited time frame that we'll be able to get out there to maintain it.
Just one last question. What's the time frame on it as far as from right now, you're in the design portion of it or looking to design, but when are you actually, if everything goes well and funding's there, when are you looking to start?
It's always difficult with the schedule. I am pushing to get something rolling this spring so I could bring something back to you to approve a plan and put it out to bid. If we, with a phased approach to do the median first, we believe that the limited restrictions on that median work will enable that to go a little faster. Work on the outside with the parkway strips, it gets complicated with ADA improvements, traffic signals, lighting. But within the median, in that area, we believe the funding's in place. Once the concept is approved, we can move quickly with finalizing the design aspect, and we could submit an application to get the median work going.
Great, thank you.
I have a couple questions. You've talked about the underground watering or irrigation. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the term is called greenscapes. Is that where reservoirs and different things are below grade?
You got me on that one. I've never heard that term, but I mean, we're all the irrigation approach is all subterranean there, so it's going.
Well,
to
these are more of where they actually have reservoirs where the runoff from the streets and so on
I know
go.
what you're saying. So you're collecting the stormwater water off and creating that as a storage.
As a reservoir
Right,
underneath
correct.
the median to use for irrigation.
Yeah.
Was that looked at at all on this project, or?
You know, I think when we start looking at what budget equals, I mean, you're doing a full drainage storage system underneath the median, and at that point, your budget is not the numbers we have today.
All right. And then the other question I have is with the underground irrigation, and I heard you talk about running dual lines. What is the possibility of those getting clogged, and what is the life of an underground system? Because I've heard of some situations where over a period of time they clog up and they're just ineffective.
Yeah, I've had, I don't know, I've had some in the ground since '96 at this point, under turf, under trees, and there is the opportunity for it to clog. You know, however, we visualize a tree, right? I'll just show you one here. This is. So you see this detail? Mm-hmm. Around this tree, we start with the tubes out far from the root ball, and we run just a little bit of water to the root ball. And so we're attracting the trees out, but there is an emitter every 12 inches around that. So in this, there's approximately, off the top of my head, 20 emitters around this tree. So if I lose half my emitters, half of them, then I still have 10 emitters at this point. So with this in-pipe drip subsurface irrigation, you don't see it. You're absolutely right. But at the same time, there's a lot of opportunity here if there is failure. You know, it's pretty rare that you get much more than 20% failure that I've seen. And talking to Rainbird, Hunter, Toro, all these different manufacturers, you know, of course they don't want to say that, but when you talk to reality of it, that's kind of what we ended up seeing. So we put these, you know, this outdoor ring creates, you know, a big outside to just collect the roots out there, and every foot, you know, it may be 20 feet long. So there's a bunch of emitters on that drip line. So we have a lot of foolproof ways of protecting against losing something.
What is the expected life of a system like that?
Well, the great part about it is at some point trees do pretty good on their own. And with our water table here that we have now, there's some opportunity for it, you know, down the road that we turn some of this off. And the trees are on different irrigation systems than the turf or the grasses or the other shrubs. So those don't get the root systems that trees get. Right. So on some of these trees in the future, we may just need to supplement it every, you know, down the road, you know, irrigating once a week in summer or even more if it's one of our super hot, dry summers. But hopefully those are moving on.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
All right. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
All right. A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Yes.